Welcome back. I'm Kim Bailey. She's Fulyana Osborne, and this is Inside Exec. This week we're continuing our discussion with Daniel Hakim, and we're talking about regulatory challenges in his industry, and also a lot about what to do when you start to outgrow your premises and the decisions you make and the responsibilities you have when you are the business owner. So let's pick up our discussion with Daniel. But in terms of the mechanical side of things, I know that there's a tendency now for people to source their own parts or get stuff from overseas. Are you finding that's...
We haven't come across a lot of that. I mean, that our workshop is at capacity all the time. So, I mean, I'm sure that there is the need. There is probably areas and people who are doing that, but the changes in vehicle and vehicle repair over the last 5 years is more than over the last 45.
Yeah.
And so it's very, very hard for someone to, unless they had the car already diagnosed, they can't just order something online and turn up to a workshop and think that that's going to fix the car. It just doesn't work that way. And so there isn't a lot of that. Where we are having trouble is accessing correct information. So like car manufacturers withholding information where it's available overseas. So if you were in other markets in the world, the repair information is legislated that it be available to everyone. In Australia it is not. They're working on it. Like everything in Australia, it takes there's 45 levels of government for it to get through before we'll see a result on the ground. But there is a lot of push for that at the moment because a lot of the car repair now is information based. So you need the correct information. It's not just a skill set that where there's so much more diagnosis of electronic parts, and everything is so modular that you can't repair one particular part of a car anymore. You replace that component or that whole segment. It's now considered part of the diagnosis to replace that part and see if it's fixed it. This has come from the car manufacturers. So this is, they don't themselves know how to diagnose these cars yet. The technology is too new to see what the faults were.
Right. So I know that one of your decisions in not buying this business at the time, but coming into this business before you bought it, was that you were in an apprenticeship that was a single manufacturer, and you had in your mind that you wanted to work on a range of cars. You think that was the right decision for you? And is it a decision that you would encourage others that are coming through now to think about?
So, I think it turned out to be the right decision for me. I suppose at the time I was bored working on it. We were working in a Honda dealership, and they make a fantastic product. So, as a young vehicle student, you weren't being challenged enough. The cars weren't failing, so you didn't get to, I think, a year and a half, 2 years into that brand, where I have a love of the brand, there was no challenge there, there was nothing to learn. It'd be a great retirement job.
Yes. To repair.
But, so, and I had an opportunity to work at this shop here on the Saturdays, and I loved the atmosphere and the rush and it was busy, go all the time, and I really liked that. So I think I fell into it. I don't think I had a plan of, I was 16, I was 17. You don't think fast. You don't think past Tuesday. So.
Not even in your 40s and 50s. Trust me.
So we just fell into it. And I think and I always say to people who are interviewing it for apprentices and stuff now that it doesn't have to be this shop, but if you learn in a small shop, you will end up a much better tradesperson because you see, a much better variety of vehicles.
Yes.
So, if you're learning to repair vehicles and you only learn on one brand, you might become very good at that one brand, but you're missing out on really learning how the whole rest of the industry is. So, there is no substitute for any smaller workshop like ours where. One day you're working on a Ferrari, next you're working on a beaten up old Honda. You don't know what's coming next. And so as a student, that's fantastic because you get to see everything. And you get to see every aspect of year one, of a vehicle. Whereas, if you're in a specialist industry or a specialist segment, you'll only learn that thing. You might become excellent at that, and that might be fine for you, but you're missing out on the rest of it. I say to a lot of young people that work here that even if they go off and then specialise in something, at least they have a background knowledge of the rest of the car.
Yeah. It gives them an idea of whether they want to
Absolutely.
specialise or not.
Yeah.
It gives them more options, really.
So you mentioned about the legislation in terms of knowing how to repair, getting the repair information. Are there other limitations in the industry that restrict you or hold you back in a business sense?
The space that we're in is competitive because we're trying to offer an alternative to someone with a new vehicle from taking to a dealer. And at the same time, we're trying to be standalone in the same shop. We're trying to be a standalone tyre retailer. You have car manufacturers who, within their own interest, want to obviously keep that vehicle in their dealer network because that means they get exclusive over that customer. So, they can sell them their tyre, they can sell them the next new car, they keep it all there. Where we come in is being able to offer a better service, a more personal service, and being cheaper, without some of the frills that you get in a car deal. But that's where
Yes, there's no coffee here.
No coffee machine. Red Bull machine. When someone's got a vehicle that's still in warranty, they're scared into by the dealers are taking it there to keep that, and that's been legislated against. So that's opened up the whole industry to being able to do that. But so as a reaction, what a car dealer will do now to keep that business, and that's within their own interest to do that, is to offer extended warranties and things like this, which hasn't been legislated against very well. So that whereas the manufacturer's warranty has been legislated that anyone can repair that car as long as they follow that list of instructions, and that's where the information segment becomes important because when you buy a new car, you no longer get a book. It's got what's due when. It's all digital. It's all hidden, and they're refusing to release that information. So even as the car owner, you don't have access to what it's due for at what service. So it makes it equally hard for another repairer to have that information. So that information is required, and that's not currently legislated that be available to everyone. And so you have a warranty issue in with the vehicle, and then the extended warranty, those are usually underwritten by an insurance company rather than the car's manufacturer. So they will have all sorts of crazy clauses in them, and no one I know has ever read that document. Until you try to make a claim. And then you'll find that you missed something, like it's got to go back to the selling deal or something like that. So a lot of those things are written to try and keep that car or keep that customer within that dealer network as they would. But then the problem we have as a tyre retailer is that we have a tyre manufacturer now wanting to sell directly to car dealers and into their workshops, and where that was usually something that was done by a tyre shop. So we would have exclusive right over a certain number of brands in an area, and then we would then sell them to the car dealer too. And what they're doing now is the car manufacturers are doing direct deals with tyre manufacturers and then sending it through their dealer network as a part of the car, and trying to, I guess, then cut all the tyre retailers out of that segment of the industry. So it's not, at the moment, there's probably 10 car dealers within 5 k's of here that we currently sell them, they fit them, but we'll supply them their tyres. They don't hold any stock, it's all held here. And they're all, we can be there in 2 minutes, whatever that car rolls in, service, whatever it needs this or that. Money brake pad, they've got that in stock, they call us for the tyre. What they're all moving towards is having all their own tyres in stock themselves, and having some sort of a network where they're their own retailer in their own right. A few of them have over the years have tried that. There's no model that has successfully worked in a car dealership because of the aspect of fitting the tyre. It's more specialised than they realise until they actually start doing it. And of stocking it. The problem is with stocking the range they need to stock now. Even in just a few brands of vehicle, like they can't hold the stock they need to. it's not space effective like it is for us.
Yeah. Are there other challenges apart from those things? So looking to the future, will there be changes to tyres in general that mean...
So we don't see, we've had quite a few industry meetings on this because there's a lot of changes that concern our industry coming in the technology in the vehicles. There's no immediate change in tyre, suspension, braking in the car, which is predominantly what our workshop does. So, we don't see any change there. The vehicle population is growing, especially in our country, faster than the service level can keep up with.
So is this shortage again?
So basically the people shortage and now even a shop shortage. So there's not enough businesses now to support the vehicle.
The vehicles that are out there.
The vehicle fleet that the country now has. Not in every area, but certainly in some areas.
So you've got industry associations. Do they?
Yes, and we have a few, and they're all very well run. They're all run really with the right intent.
Good.
So we have quite a few now, and it's going back to the thing where we're trying to get everyone to work together because we end up with, as an industry, better quality repair going out, and it also makes it all easy for us each to run our own individual businesses, but still be competitive.
If they're doing the industry profile right, it has to start to address the shortage of staff.
That's still one area where we haven't been able to make any real inroad. The problem is that what we charge as an industry hasn't really changed in 20 years. What a wheel alignment cost, what a punch repair cost is the same today, and industry-wide as it was 20 years ago. No other industry has kept their price the same. So until those rates go up, there is no wage growth really to be had further, and we're just left short of people because unless they get paid more, we can't poach them from other industries. And we don't have, I don't think we have the labour force available to us in Australia.
It's a shame really because there's got to be an answer somewhere with what you said, pay them right, increase the prices because they do anyway, but also to get people, there's so many unemployed young people that will be looking, as you said earlier, maybe as a career or as just a chapter or two in their career to move on.
A lot of them might have trouble getting to an area, so whereas they might be in a regional area where there is no work for them, they can't get to a metro centre like us.
And if they came here,
like
it's still the travel.
There's still the travel. So I've had some of the best employees I've had have been from the country, or from overseas. So that some of the country guys I've had have been absolutely amazing.
And as you said, to live within a reasonable distance, it's cost.
Yes.
Rental
anywhere, anywhere, and I think in a capital city, or a major city, it's going to be an issue. So I think it goes back to what people talk about on the radio. It's the housing affordability. There is no cheap housing in North Shore Sydney anymore.
So if we look at the business in terms of planning, I have words that I won't use in this podcast that are about business goals.
Goals. She loves goals.
She doesn't use the word goals. So how do you and how often do you do your business planning?
I have no business training. I have no prior business experience. We just learn as we go. So we've never sat down and done a plan. But this is what we want. We just we outgrow a space and we buy a building, or we buy a bigger truck. It's just how it goes. And then we go, we should have done that. We didn't make any money on that, or that was a good idea. Let's buy another one of those. There's no proper thought process for us. It's just a fly by seat of the pants sort of thing. We just take each day as it comes. I mean, I have good friends who do similar stuff to what we're doing here, who are very plan driven, and they've had no better or worse success than us. So it's the same thing. It's very much a trial and error thing.
Do you think that's because you're so hands on with the business and you've got a feel for exactly what's happening where, that nothing runs out of control? The costs don't run out of control, the staff don't run out of control.
That's right. I mean, so I guess in the perfect world, that you would really, should be able to run a business like this from your lounge room at home or something, but you can't. You have to be first one in, last one out. I think any shopkeeper will tell you that's the only way to be successful, is that you have to just put the time in. The business requires your time, you have to give it to it, otherwise it won't work. You know, I think I mean I've seen it in our industry a lot, but I think if you compare it to any other industry, if you're not putting the time there on and being hands-on, you're going to miss opportunity, and you're also going to find mistakes are made that didn't need to be made. You know, of course, we're still making mistakes. We make them every day, but you know, we can be on top of it. You know, and we're also right there. I mean, in saying that, you do have to step off the floor a little bit and be a bit more organised. I find that the days where we might be short-staffed and you know, my instinct is to go in and help on the floor. We actually, it puts us further behind. You know, it's very hard to break habit coming off the floor, but you know, the more that you, instead of standing back and just doing what we can do and being organised, and you try to speed things up and jump in and help, you're not doing your job, and we fall further behind through the day.
So you're putting in a store manager help with that transition for you?
Absolutely. I mean, we've done that, and but you know, we've grown to the point where even with the a full-time store manager and myself here, it's too much for the two of us, and then if one of us in here, it's physically too much work for one or two people. A lot of situations and questions and stuff where I have the answer in my head, I can answer it in 2 seconds. It's very, very hard to quantify that in some way where you could have a book or teach someone or something. It only comes from experience.
Yes.
You know?
And so then in terms of succession planning, I know you're not into planning, but how do you cater for the fact that you mightn't be here?
Whenever I'm not here, if it's planned, we just take less work. So we prioritise. You know, we have a customer base that can be flexible, so there's a lot of stuff we can book work around if I'm not going to be here. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff that flexible with when that comes, and so we can just save the time that is in the day for basically emergency work. So we go into what we call survival mode. So, you know, we're not interested in profits or anything like that. We're just keeping everybody happy. So, you know, we're making sure that our service level, especially to our trade and wholesale customers, is not dropped. So that, you know, we're still first call when they want something. So, you know, like, and that's I think any business that when you're short of staff, it's not that you can't get the work done, as your quality of service drops. So, you know, if I'm not here or if I'm not going to be here, we just make sure that is maintained, even if we're not making the correct amount of money or what we should be on for the week, for the day. It's irrelevant. We just got to maintain the customers that are important and that aren't flexible, you know. And then if it's unplanned, well, it's chaos.
So you really, over time, you could do with another one of you, really.
Yes.
Well, you've got two at home. Haven't you trained them up to it?
Look, you know, as much as I love our business and what we put into it, I don't know if it's something that I would want for our children. You know,
which is an interesting opinion to share. That's good.
You know, it's not that, I mean, if they wanted to do it, of course I would teach them, and you know, it would be theirs. But you know, I have two sons. I don't know that. I don't know. They can work together. They certainly can't play together.
I think you're talking about siblings in general. Yes.
But you know, like all the very successful businesses that I've been associated with, family businesses have multiple family members and they all get along well. And I think that is a big factor in their success. Is that the more family they have involved and the more committed they all are, the better their relationship, the more successful their business will be. It's just more eyes on the prize, I guess.
Well, we both know that Fulyana comes from a big family, and I think it'd be fair to say that she doesn't think her family would work well together.
No, I'd rather just be family, yes. Just a comment, I mean, you talked about you don't plan, but what I'm hearing, actually, there's a lot of planning happening in reality, very action-oriented rather than a document.
So I suppose we do plan, I mean, we just don't write anything down. You know, so you know, we have goals, I guess, that we have in our head, but they're not on a piece of paper or anything like that. You know, and we have, you know, like right now we're in the process of building a new workshop, but it wasn't something that we sat down and thought, oh, you know, that's the next step for us, is that we've physically outgrown our space to the point where it's almost ridiculous. We needed more space. We sat down with a calculator for 2 minutes and going, oh, if we do this and do that, it should work. Let's give it a try and see what happens. You know, and that's been how we've run our business from the start. You know.
And we might just talk a little bit about that, because let's just see what happens. For those of you who are listening, we're talking about what kind of an investment?
We're probably, you know, without crunching numbers, it's probably $6.5 million.
And it's remodelling an existing building and building.
So we're remodelling one and we're adding a whole new building onto that.
And it's in an area where you'll have to close the road to do the construction.
Yes, we'll be unpopular with our neighbours down there for a couple.
And deal with council. And I know that you built this building that we're in now, that this was purpose-built for you when you moved from around the corner.
Were you able to do that and still run your business at the same time?
Yeah, that was a horrible time in our lives. You know, and when we moved here, you know, I said to myself and to my family, I'll never do this again. I'm never moving a business again.
Yes.
You know, it was horrible. The pressure of still running your business and then trying to move, and it was not a move it was a move we had to make for redevelopment purposes from where we were. It wasn't a move we wanted to make, whereas this move is one we want to make. So we're hoping that this goes better, but you know, it depends what day you ask me. One day it's a good idea, one day it's not a good idea. So.
So just to give the people listening an idea, how long have you had the plans at council now?
So I guess, you know, I'm probably the wrong person to ask. I'm very anti-government of any sort, but this particular council and this particular job has actually so far gone quite well. I've been surprised. They've been very accommodating. You know, the delays have really been on me and on planning, and you know, because it's so expensive to get it wrong. You know, so you know, I'll just put a ramp there. No, it's not, and you know, to the point where, you know, a couple of us guys in here, we've gone down to the local park with some cars and some tape measure and some paint, and actually painted it out and made sure that it flows before we build it. You know, and you know, so I guess the delays have been on us as much, you know, especially the government and council bureaucracy that we have. Anyone who's dealt with a government department or a council, it's no different, you know, but we know what to expect. This particular building we're in right now took 3 years to get through, but that's because we were pushing the envelope of what was allowed. How they choose what's allowed and who chooses what's allowed, that's, I guess, a different conversation we can have. That's a whole other area I have a problem with, but you know, the development we're doing now, I mean, I guess the key for anyone who's doing any development or anything like that is just build what's allowed.
Yeah.
You know, before you buy, before you design, before you do anything, look at what you're getting. Is it going to work within the rules? Because if you can make it just something that appears on a desk and gets rubber stamped, that's the fastest way through. If you're building something that requires a lot of modification to the rules or to the planning, then it's not, you know, unless you're up for a big fight, it's probably not worth it. And that's, you know, it was different for us when we moved here because it was necessity. We had to move somewhere.
It's actually quite impressive that you're able to continuously move the goalposts, as you said, and exceed your goals. And now your business is growing, and it's actually both from a number of employees to number of clients to premises. That's fantastic. And when you talk about it, it's all experience-based.
Yes, I mean, we've been lucky in that our industry has grown with us. We came into the industry in a time where it was growing. It's still growing. So you know, there's plenty of industry you could have gone into that were in decline and you weren't to know. Whereas, you know, we were lucky in that sense. So, you know, that's no pat on the back for us. That was just good timing.
But you've taken advantage of it.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You've moved with
I guess you're sort of in the right place at the right time, you know what I mean? And it's and you have to be willing to put the work in. So, you know, we were at a point before we decided to move the business again and go through the process of buying more buildings and trying to do all that. We were at the point where we had to sit down and what is it that we want? You know, do we want to roll the dice again because we have a successful business? It can, yes, it's maxed out on its space and it's at capacity all the time, but there's nothing wrong with that either. That's very sellable. That's an asset, and we're completely, you know, I guess debt free in a business point of view. So, do you go in again? It's like starting fresh, or do you walk away?
Yeah.
Because once you decide to go in again, you can't back out of that.
Yeah, you've got to see it through.
Yes, you have to get that done. So I guess I was at the point where I felt I was still young enough, and I still wanted more stuff. You know?
But what sort of stuff are you talking about?
I can't
He
trust
doesn't have to tell us
I
that.
can't trust that you're going to edit this out.
Just in that vein, I know that you've had in conjunction with the business and all of the things that you've done, you have tried some extracurricular activities, you've done some other stuff, and I know you've got the family that takes up time now. Are there things outside of the business that you would like to do?
The only thing that I really feel that I would like to do is travel. I was lucky enough to do it. Travel a little bit as a child, and then as a young adult, and we have travelled, as a family. But it's different when you have a business like this. It's like leaving a toddler at home.
Yeah.
You can't relax. So it's
Let me tell you, those who are still listening, that he has a security system that is attached to his phone so that he can look at the workshop when he's away.
and we do, and I do, and that's the level of commitment that is required.
Yes.
So I guess the only thing that I would like to do that the business wouldn't allow time for is to travel.
To travel. Yeah.
And that's probably the only thing I would do when we didn't have this business.
Oh, well, you're still pretty young and still plenty of years to travel, so the next step would be to clone yourself so you can.
I think any business owner would know this. The only way you can truly do that is if you don't have the business anymore.
Yeah, because you don't have to think about it.
You don't have the responsibility.
Yes.
Because it's a massive responsibility.
It is.
Not just for your own sake, but your responsibility of your other employees.
For the team,
And you're ultimately responsible for every vehicle that leaves you.
I'd just like to say how much I learned during this podcast. I certainly had a bit of an idea of what you do, but learned a lot more about your business in particular, the industry and the challenges. And I respect it even more than before and really appreciate it.
We will wrap it up there because I can't remember what I was going to ask, so we'll have to wait for another time. I'm Kim Bailey, she's Fulyana Osborne, and we've been talking with Daniel Hakim. This is Inside Exec.